today's video... Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for websites and online stores. We'll talk more about them at the end of the video. Today though, we're talking about that guy back there, the Apple Studio Display. Let me get it up here for you. Almost got it. Okay. Here she is. Let me get her hooked up real quick. Power cable. Now, I'm sure that you have seen a ton of reviews on this monitor already, some being very positive and some being very negative. Today though, I am going to talk about the 3 reasons why I purchased the Apple Studio Display and the one regret that I have when I purchased it. And with all of this, I hopefully can help you decide, should you buy one? Now, if you are looking for like a super technical breakdown about this monitor, you've come to the wrong video. We'll talk a little bit about the tech specs, but I am not a computer monitor expert, but I'm a heavy user of computer monitors. As a professional photographer for the last 14 years and content creator for the last 2 or 3 years, I have sat in front of a monitor for just a shocking amount of hours. So I might not be able to tell you some of the more technical aspects about a monitor, but I can tell you what looks good and what works for me. But first, let's kind of hit on like a long story short on the Apple Studio Display. This is a 27-inch IPC P3 colorway 5K Retina display, which basically just means it's got a lot of pixels and it's hard to see the pixels. Like you can't distinguish individual pixels very well, which is good. Up top in the middle here, we have an ultra wide webcam, which has had mixed reviews so far. The webcam, it's just kind of meh, even though they kind of highlighted that as one of its big features. I would say at this point it's meh. We have heard though that Apple is gonna release an update, a firmware update for this monitor, which will then help out that ultra wide camera. But with that ultra wide camera, there is a 3 mic array, which sounds quite good, but what sounds even better is a 6 speaker setup. There are 4 force canceling woofers in here and 2 tweeters, and wow. I remember when I got the MacBook Pro, the new M1 MacBook Pro, the audio, the speaker system is very, very impressive. But then you turn this thing on and you go, oh, that's what like computer speakers should sound like. Then on the back here, we have 3 USB-C ports right here and 1 Thunderbolt port, which when plugged into your laptop can provide up to 96 watts of charging. So just with this one cable, I can transfer data to the monitor and back and forth through these USB-C ports, but I can also charge up my laptop without having to plug in my MagSafe adapter. And all that rests on an aluminum stand that yes, is built in and it's part of the monitor. It's not like the XDR monitor where you spend like $1,000 just to get the stand. So with all of that said, what have the haters said about this monitor? The main thing, like the thesis of their argument is it's too expensive. And not that it's too expensive, but they think it's overpriced for what it is. And in a lot of ways, I would probably agree. Because at $1,600 for a 27-inch monitor, there's not a lot of features on it that are like wow features. And then on top of that $1,600, you can purchase a nano coating texture for it for $300, which is essentially an anti-reflective texture. And don't get it if you don't need it, because it loses a lot of the crispness to the monitor when you add that texture on there. And then yes, that stand back there, it does come included for that $1,599 price tag, but it's only tilt adjustable. So you can only take the stand and you can only do this with it. They do sell a height adjustable stand that you can buy. It is $400 extra to be able to make the monitor go up and down a little bit. So no, for $1,600, Apple's stand does not give you height adjustment, which yes, is absurd, but also just, you know, Apple being Apple. But the negative reviewers will also tell you that this is not the latest and greatest in display technology. Like even the MacBook Pro, hang on, let's go with this side. Even the MacBook Pro screen that will be sitting next to it at my desk, this is arguably a much better screen compared to this kind of older screen style. With this screen being a Liquid Retina XDR that can go up to 120 Hertz with that Pro Motion where it kind of has a variable refresh rate, and the Apple Studio Display maxes out at 60 Hertz. But even with all that to say, the haters will still say this is a really good monitor, just overpriced for what it is. But but is it overpriced? And again, why did I buy it? The first reason I bought it, number one, is I needed a new monitor. I was still using this guy. This is Apple's original Thunderbolt display from a very long time ago. And yes, I had to color calibrate this thing all the time. And I really wanted 5K. I wanted that Retina screen. And in the Apple world of 5K monitors, there's kind of two options out there right now. There's this guy and the LG 5K Ultrafine. And the 5G Ultrafine sells for $1,299, and it's really hard to find right now. Like, it's out of stock everywhere I've looked. But when you put this next to the LG Ultrafine, it's better in almost every way. The aluminum construction over a plastic construction. Yes, is this an overbuilt monitor? Totally, so was the first one. But then you add in a better webcam, the triple mic array, you add in that 6-speaker sound system. It's worth the extra $300 for me to go from that LG 5K Ultrafine to this thing. Number two though, this thing is shockingly accurate. As a professional photographer, I run a color calibration on all my monitors all the time. And on this thing, after calibration, it pretty much didn't do anything. You can see the before and after, and usually on displays, you'll see like a big shift, maybe a big magenta shift or a big green shift. But on this thing, there was almost nothing. I would say maybe if you really stared at it, there was the tiniest magenta shift, but I would say this is the most accurate monitor that I've ever calibrated. Now, for some people, calibration just doesn't matter that much. It doesn't need to be super accurate. It just needs to be close. But for creators, especially photographers, you need what's on the monitor to actually be what the image looks like. That way, if I send my images to print or my client sends my images to print, they're gonna look like what I meant them to look like. Oh, and the whole 600 nits, I know some people were saying 600 nits isn't bright enough. I've actually had to turn this monitor down so that I can edit properly on it. You cannot stare at a monitor at 600 nits all day long. It's too bright. So far using it, I've turned it down 3 notches from its peak brightness. So 3 notches down seems to be right about the right level for my calibration tools to say, yeah, that's what you should be looking at. That's what you should expect when it comes out on the print lab. And then my number 3 reason is it's gonna be the one that just upsets the most amount of people for sure, but it's the ecosystem, man. And I know that just sounds like Apple fanboy talk, but when the same company that makes the software makes the hardware, things just work better together. When I turn this off, they're sleeping, I wake this one up, and that one almost instantly turns on. Even Apple's old monitor wouldn't come on that quickly. And then I can also go into things like Control Center, I can adjust the brightness on there, I can adjust the volume, I can use AirPlay, I can do different things because it's Apple's monitor. And do they put a premium on that price? Of course, just like anybody. I drive a Mercedes Sprinter van. Anytime I buy Mercedes parts for the Sprinter van, it costs more than third-party parts. But in certain instances, do those parts work much better with my van because they were designed by the people that built the van? Totally. And that's kind of how this monitor works with this laptop. Now, do I think that the $1,600 price tag for this monitor is absurd? Absolutely. Do I think it's crazy to charge $400 extra just to get a height adjustable stand that comes standard on many like sub $500 monitors? Totally. And do I wish that they would have added more features, made this a little bit more of an updated display with something like local dimming? That would have been dope. Or maybe even a user replaceable power cord. Yes, the power cord is user replaceable. Like if you pull shockingly way harder than you would want to pull on your own device, you can remove this cord, but they didn't make it easy. So while I have many frustrations at the price, at some of the funky little things that they didn't put in there, if you're looking for a 5K monitor for your Apple computer, I still think this is the best option. But what is my one regret with this studio display? I ordered it. This is the $1,599 version. I just did the tilty head bit because I thought $400 for a height thing was crazy. And I still think that. So I don't regret that I got the tilt head. I do regret that I did not get the VESA adapter. The VESA is like a big metal bracket that they put up here. It's a totally different monitor. I have heard that you can take this into the Apple store and pay $400 extra or $400 plus labor, and you can switch this from the tilt head to the height adjustable tilt head. But I don't think that you can switch from this to the VESA mount because it's like a big bracket thing that like looks like it's bolted on up here. But the VESA mount adapter, it just would have given me like more options to mount this thing. I could have had my own mount back there. I could put it on the wall. I could mount it to my desk, and putting it on the wall actually would have been really sweet. Like I could have mounted it up there so the whole thing floated. I do wish that I would have done that. Because then too, like in the future, if I wanted to mount one vertically, if I wanted to get multiple panels of these and mount two next to each other, I just think that the VESA mount is better than this aluminum. It just tilts. VESA or VESA? V-E-S-A, I don't know. But again, as frustrating as all of this is, if you have an Apple computer, I still think this is your best bet for a monitor. The 6K XDR Pro display for like $5,000 plus another $1,000 for the stand, that's ridiculous. And this seems cheap in comparison. I wanna hear what you guys think though. Does the $1,599 price tag for this monitor, does that keep you from pulling the trigger and buying it? And if so, what monitor would you buy instead of this monitor? Because for some people, that price and some of the little frustrating bits about this monitor, it'll just be too much for them. What's not frustrating though is the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. Squarespace is an incredibly to use website building platform. I've used Squarespace for the last, I guess almost 8 years now for my photography business, but I've also built like 12 other Squarespace websites for different friends. Even Morgan, her whole band's website is on Squarespace. We had a photo booth company for a long time, that was on Squarespace. My photography business on Squarespace. 3 of my neighbors are talking about launching businesses, and I've told them, start a Squarespace website. Takes like a day to set up. Because from portfolios to show my work, from blogging tools to talk about my work, or even appointment booking to book my work, Squarespace kind of does it all for me. And you can start totally free. Shoot to squarespace.com, go in there, set up a website, get it moving, get it all dialed in, start throwing your photos and your text in, build it out totally free in your trial. And when you're ready to launch it, go to squarespace.com/Manning, save 10% off your first website or domain. Oh yeah, you can buy your domain and get like a cool email address right within Squarespace. I'm telling you, they do everything. Okay, I'm gonna get all this stuff back over there. Comment down below, you buying this thing? What say you? I'll see you soon. Honestly, my frustration with this thing has not been the price, it's been the fingerprints. It has such a thin little bezel around the outside that when you grab it to move it or tilt it, fingerprints everywhere. It's like touching your MacBook Pro screen. You can't not get fingerprints. I hate fingerprints on there. Where's my rag?